we do as Applied Integration in a whole, we'll still be here for everything else that we do. A lot of you who've only ever kind of interacted with us as Dimensions customers may not really realize, but Applied Integration started out and has always been really a full-service cloud or IT service company. We take care of much, much more than just Dimensions systems for other people, other customers. We do a full range of networks, Windows servers, cloud services, all the stuff that's going on out there in modern technology today. So how did we get to this point? Well, here's one of the most important fundamental things that has been going on every single day, and I know you guys have heard this from me before, as we've had to kind of send out some price adjustments over the years as we've been doing this. The hardware that you're running your systems on is just getting older and older and older, and the corresponding equipment failure rate that goes with that old equipment just continues to climb. So basically what we've got is a scenario out there where your servers, your Dimensions system is an extremely tired box. It's at the end of its life, or it's very close to the end of its life. And when computer equipment fails, it does so with no warning. Typically, you just come in one day and it's dead. The parts inventory or the replacement inventory that we've been drawing off of to keep Dimensions systems running is also becoming increasingly difficult to get our hands on. We're just running out of parts. A lot of them were what people had sitting in garages. We've turned to scouring eBay and so forth for replacement parts for the old generation of technology that you're running on, because nobody's making new, old parts that you've got in your boxes out there. So from the hardware standpoint, we've made a pretty strong commitment to everyone that we can help you recover from whatever happens. A lightning strike hits your building, we expect to be able to bring your box back from a catastrophic failure like that. However, it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder to meet that commitment. That's something we take very seriously. And so we're starting to get pretty nervous about the fact that we can't always guarantee we've got parts where we can get them. We've also contracted with some third-party vendors out there. We've always had to kind of have the feet on the street that we could dispatch out to your location in those instances where somebody needs to come in and take the cover off the box and change a hard drive out or something like that. And typically, back in the day when everybody was running Unix machines and everybody was running systems similar to yours, it was pretty easy to get a consistent kind of service level from those third-party vendors out there. But again, as more and more technicians in the field today are more Windows-centric, they're used to working on Windows boxes. They don't really understand that some of these parts had to be extremely proprietary. You had to put in the exact same kind of hard drive that came out, or the system just wouldn't work. They don't really get that, and so consequently, we've had a couple of I just call them disasters, because that's what they've been, with these third-party vendors who kind of don't really realize that when they make a commitment to us that they can go on site out in the middle of nowhere somewhere and fix a box for us, that they maybe didn't realize how specific the parts needed to be or whatever, and a couple of those have gone pretty sideways on us. The operating system support itself, some of you guys are still running on some operating systems out there that are just getting nearly unsupportable. I know we still have a couple of customers out there running on the old SuperDOS operating system. That operating system was a fantastic choice 28, 29, 27 years ago when it first landed on the landscape out there. But basically, realistically today, that operating system is nearly unsupportable. Doug and I laugh about it. There's probably 2 people left on the face of the planet who know how to resurrect a SuperDOS machine from disaster, and you're talking to one of them right now, and Doug's the other. The Unix machines as well, that the SCO operating systems that we were running on, UnixWare and OpenServer and so forth, are, again, just not very mainstream. A lot of the stuff that we're finding is, again, there's shrinking resources of people who can help us support those boxes. And as we try to bring some new technology into the mix and kind of bring some of our solutions back to those old operating systems, we're finding that some of that new stuff just won't work with the older operating systems. So again, we're still finding ourselves kind of limited, even when we're trying to kind of just go, well, here's some cloud options for backing up and so forth. Sometimes we run into an operating system that's, because of its age, just simply won't work. And of course, there are some other external forces at work. Doug, as you know, is nearing retirement age. He's had some health issues that he's been struggling with over the last little bit. You know, we fully expect him to kind of start really wanting to seriously wind his career down and retire. And Carolyn as well has, as we've already found, an attrition kind of going on out there in the Dimensions customer base. The amount of revenue that she's making hasn't really kept up with what she needs to survive on, so she's already had to start to kind of explore other options. She currently supports the software package that some Harley-Davidson dealerships run on, and so she's had to kind of already pick up some other work out there. So all these things are starting to kind of come together as the perfect storm out here of you know, factors that when you add them all up and take them together, it's what got me to that point where I just said, you know what, we've got to have a date on the calendar that we can be realistically about and give everybody kind of the heads up here. So there's some good news that goes along with this. We take, you know, what we do very seriously, and we knew that we were going to get to this point. Like I said, when we started down this road back in 2009, we knew right at that point in time that we had to have an exit strategy, if you would, for you guys to help you, you know, figure out what you're going to do as you move forward. So we've been preparing ever since we began down this road to help you, you know, offer you a solution and a way to move forward without it being a big, you know, big hassle and horribly difficult. One of the things that is a really good deal with the time frame that we're in is technology has been marching forward at its typical, you know, breakneck pace. But these days now, because of those new advancements in a lot of this technology out there, there's this cloud hosting infrastructure that we've put together. We've invested heavily in cloud infrastructure so that we've set you up in a position where nowadays you don't have to go out and buy a big expensive server to replace that Dimensions server if you want to move off of Dimensions. You can move your business out into a cloud-based application where you don't really buy the hardware, you don't buy the licensing, you just pay for it as you go. One of the things that comes along with that is more flexible user counts. As we've reviewed a lot of your user licensing, some of you have been paying for, I'll throw a number out there, 24 users or 32 users or 10 users because that was the most people you ever were going to have on your Dimensions system. And from the day you bought that box, you've been paying support and ongoing licensing for those 24 or 32 users forever, even though there was probably plenty of times during the winter or your slow times a year where maybe you could have gotten by with just 6 or 8 people on the system, and then you ramp up in the summer. Well, in the old days, there was no way to deal with that. You had to have you had to pay for the most number of users you were ever going to have on the system. But because of this flexible infrastructure and cloud related services and licensing, you can now build a system that turns on immediately, is out in the cloud, and you just pay for the number of users who are really using the system as you go. So when things are slow in the winter, you could scale your user count down to however many people are really in the business, and then as you ramp up as summer gets busy, you double your workforce, then you're only paying for those extra people while they're actually in the business running, and then when winter rolls around again, you can dial that user count back down and not pay that fixed cost. So that's a really good thing that you've never been able to take advantage of in the past. And another thing that's kind of sets ourselves up to be, you know, in a really good position to help you with this is because of the fact that we've been doing this since we started with the remote aspect of things being taken care of people's full entire networks, we've got a really robust network management and monitoring platform that we've put in place, and we've been taking care of customers all across the country with extremely sophisticated networks from California to Pennsylvania and everywhere in between, and doing every bit of their IT services for them. Not a single one of our customers really has a full-time IT guy on staff out there, even though their systems are anywhere up to 200 or 300 users and very complicated systems, clear down to the smallest one. We've got a really nice way of taking care of that stuff for you. So we're still your IT guys. We're still taking care of everything, even though as you move forward into new technology, it does get a bit more complicated. We've also, we've been kind of thinking about what we're going to do and what you guys are going to do as we announce this, is we've worked very closely with the other software vendors that are out there who are really your options as you look at moving off the Dimensions application. And one of the ones that we feel like is kind of the best option, as we've been through a bunch of these, is the guys over at Spruce. We've kind of developed a pretty close relationship with them over the last few years, as we've done quite a few Dimensions to Spruce conversions. In my opinion, if you want my opinion on software, hands down, I believe the spruceware.net application is the best path to go to from Dimensions. We've helped people go from Dimensions to a lot of applications, and this is the one that goes forward very quickly. Your people take to it quickly. It's a very good application. The people are great to work with out there. We've really worked hard to build that relationship up, but we've done that intentionally because we do feel like they're a really good option as you start looking at what you're going to do. The other applications that are out there that you'll probably be considering as you look around is, the BizTrack system, the Eagle for Windows. Those are good as well. Some of them carry some other challenges. When we're in the really large user counts, we'll oftentimes kind of direct people towards the BizTrack route because it's a little bit more of a kind of a 200 and above user system. But really, for the most part, we're really comfortable with the guys over at Spruce and have a good relationship with them. And also, as you look forward to kind of moving your system or your business forward onto new software, a lot of the rest of the stuff comes along, gets updated as part of this cloud and new licensing models out there. You can use the new Office version out there, Microsoft Office, which is all the latest and greatest Office. But more importantly, we're also kind of refreshing people's email platform. We're moving on to Exchange out there because we're starting to see more and more people saying, you know what, I want to get my mail from wherever and whenever I want to get it, and I don't want to be bound to sitting at my desk. I want to get it on my phone or my iPad at home or my, a computer in a business center or a hotel when I'm traveling and all that kind of thing. So that's one of the things that really does kind of help you transition forward into new technology, is just moving into a better mail platform. And with all that stuff, we also bring along the latest and greatest in antivirus protection software, backup software. Like I said earlier, we're doing backups out into the cloud now, so you can get out of the business of packing tapes home as you go forward into new technology. We're very strong in the firewall and internet security department, so we keep the bad guys out of your network as much as possible and keep things running smoothly. And as we've gone forward into this world where people are starting to bring in their own devices from home and say, hey, I want to get mail hooked up on my iPad or my phone or whatever, we've even invested in some remote management tools that let us manage your smartphones for you. So what we're really looking at as we do this transition with is we're kind of hoping that people will kind of embrace this change and take it as an opportunity to kind of modernize the business in its entirety, and we're prepared to cover every aspect of that for you. We've got a team of technicians here in Salt Lake, and again, a fair amount of you have probably never talked to any of these guys. You talk to Doug and Carolyn all the time, and that's really the only contact you've had, but I've got a full team of dedicated technicians who sit in the office right here with me every day and work on the other systems that are out there right now. And they're sharp guys, and they've got the best tools in the business to do their job. Again, over the past, since we started down this road of doing IT services in the first place, again, by virtue of the fact that we knew we wanted to be able to take care of people who weren't right here in town with us, we had to invest pretty heavily in some really good tools to do remote management and monitoring and so forth. And we've bought the best in the business. We've dumped all of our money that this business has generated really back into the business because we've been growing and working very hard to get a very well-established platform of tools out there. So bar none, we haven't spared any expense on the tools that we use that I put in the hands of my guys to do their job. And the guys are, like I said, well qualified. They're very highly certified guys. They're young and bright and very educated and sharp, and they love doing customer service. So we really have a good team out here. And again, as a byproduct of this kind of move into the new technology world out there, we've got some well-established partnerships with some pretty big vendors out there now that puts us in a position to be able to get good pricing on equipment if we need it, and licensing and all that kind of thing. We work very closely with Dell, Microsoft, SonicWall is who we use for our firewalls and so forth, Netgear, et cetera. So again, the company as a whole is very well positioned for wherever you need to go. We're just trying to make sure you understand that we're not just the one-trick pony out there of being just a dimension shop. We're much, much more to a lot of other customers, and we're just kind of trying to get you familiar with some of that stuff as well. So as we looked at this really closely as the year was wrapping up last year, we started to have a hard look at the numbers of what we were dealing with. The customer base running on Dimensions has been going through its own attrition rate. Ever since we started down this road, we transfer a fair amount of people off of their Dimensions systems into some other platform, kind of on an ongoing basis. So this isn't something that is just starting now. Many of you a lot of people have already made the switch. Right now, today, there's less than 40 of you left that we work with that are running on the Dimensions system out there. We're converting another one up in Wyoming as we speak right now. We did a couple last month. So the move has been kind of going at just a, whatever pace it's been going at, which gets us to this point. So there's about, there's less than 40 of you left out there. We're assuming that probably 80 to 90% of you will have either already kind of been planning to move forward, or maybe this will be that little bump you need to get down the road. But that's kind of my number, just throwing my best guess out there, is that here's where we're at, and here's kind of what we assume will happen is over the next 2 years, 80 to 90% of you will probably make that decision to move forward. We roughly have 23 months to get the work done of getting you guys that do want to move off Dimensions, getting you moved. So basically, we're trying to have these conversations with you right now because we've got to get this process rolling if we look at it consistently. We need to convert a couple of you a month as we go forward to get the work done if my numbers or my estimations are correct. And again, sometimes people would like to ask us to support this application forever, but we will hit that point where there's the last 4 or 5 customers out there that are running on Dimensions that simply can't, you can't charge enough support to support the people's payrolls to stick around to support them. So we really feel like this kind of has to happen. We've got to get you guys moving, and we've got a fair amount of work to do. Like I said, we've planned heavily. We've built out our infrastructure. We're prepared to begin this immediately, and we also have made the Spruce guys very aware of what's going on, and if you choose to go with the Spruce route, they're prepared as well to roll their sleeves up and dive into this thing and get you going. So what happens in this process? Well, the first thing that happens is, obviously, we understand you're going to want to get a quote or get some idea of what we're talking about money-wise. And again, we would like you to look at very closely the cloud hosting scenario, because there's very little upfront costs that go with it. You basically just pay for the implementation. You maybe need some printers and peripherals around your office, maybe not. But obviously, that's kind of where most people that are at the decision-making level want to start is, okay, well, let's see some numbers first of all. So we're prepared. Charlie's ready. We've got some templates in place that would be pretty easy to plug your numbers into and to start that conversation as soon as you're ready. So, we're ready to start that tomorrow or this afternoon, or, as soon as this seminar is over. Whenever you guys are ready, we're prepared to start that conversation with you and get you going down that road. We do have a couple more webinars planned, and we don't have the dates out there for them. We're kind of hoping to get you guys' feedback at the end of this webinar on how soon you would like to do these. But I'd like to do one more webinar to maybe take an hour and go through the cloud infrastructure in some detail. There's a lot of stuff out there that I kind of need to explain, some questions that I'm sure you guys will have about how does this stuff work, what are we buying, what are we paying for, how do we scale it up and down and so forth. So I'd like to schedule another webinar, and like I said, maybe spend about an hour with you and really go through that in a little bit more detail, because it's a really good option. And again, it's where the state of the industry is going. You've probably no doubt seen the Microsoft Cloud advertisements on TV where people are, even using it for residential stuff. The move is on to put the physical equipment out in a data center somewhere and access it remotely, which is basically what that boils down to. And we're ready to go that direction. But again, there's a fair amount of things that we'd like to explain to you about how it works. And the guys over at Spruce, again, we're coming at this that we recommend you look at them, at least if nothing else, have a good look at their software. They've agreed to do a webinar with us where Mitch Adams will get on with us, and he'll do kind of a high-level demo or overview of the software for those of you who've maybe never seen it before or haven't seen it recently, to give you, kind of that 30,000 foot level view of what the software does. Kind of, you'll be able to see, quickly what some of the new advancements are that you'll be able to take advantage of as you move on to new technology. Obviously, that's, not going to say you're not maybe still going to want a salesman to come in and sit down with you and spend some one-on-one time, but the guys have offered up to do that. And so, again, as soon as you all feel like you're willing to commit another couple of hours to us, we'll schedule those webinars and get them going, because we really want to get this information in front of you as soon as possible and get as many questions answered as possible so that we can start working forward on the work we know we've got to get done. So we're ready for your questions. Like I said, I'm trying to keep my part of talking at this thing pretty brief. So I'm going to turn this back over to Charlie, and if you can start to type your questions in, you maybe already have some. He sees a little different view than I do of what's going on here. We'll just start fielding questions, and feel free to stick with us as long as you want. If you've heard enough and you kind of want to just schedule some time to talk to us one-on-one, you can jump off the conference at any time, but we'll stay and answer questions until we've kind of burned up our hour. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Charlie.
Great, thanks, Don. Yeah, so there's a question thing in your little heads-up display there. If you guys have any questions, just type them in, and I'll read them back to the group, and then we'll have Don or myself answer the questions for you. And like Don said, if you've heard enough today and you want to just talk one-on-one, feel free to end the conference now, and you guys can obviously call in here or shoot us an email, and we'll kind of go from there. So anybody have any questions? I'll kind of sort them through here as we go.
I have one question and this might be one everybody can answer with the raising their hands or whatever, is do you guys feel like this was an okay way to get this information in front of you, and are you game for a couple more of these and as soon as possible? Or I just kind of like to hear, what your feedback is on that. So we might even, as we follow up with this at the end and we send an email out to everybody, if you could maybe reply back to us and say, hey, yeah, let's keep on going with the conversation as soon as possible, or or we'll just contact you when you want to talk to us or whatever. But we would like to know, your take on this vehicle for getting the message across, I guess.
Okay, so people are asking here, when's the best way to get a quote on a system? So anybody that's interested, go ahead and shoot me an email back and say, hey, Charlie, I want to talk about a quote. We've got a lot of information on your company, but I'll probably get on with you one-on-one, just ask you a few questions about your infrastructure, how many PCs you have, how many printers you have, if you still have the dummy green screen terminals out there. And then pretty much, it's pretty easy to quote, a system of what we, think you need and what you think you need. And then of course, kind of getting together with the Spruce guys or whatever other solution you want. Like Don mentioned, we're more than happy to entertain other systems. We do support other systems like BizTrack and other solutions out there. So I'll just kind of give you, as an IT guy, your best guidance and best consultation. So go ahead and feel free to fire back me an email off of your invitation that you guys got. Just charlie@appliedintegration.net. You can just fire back and say, hey, I'm interested in kind of talking about this or the next step. And then let's see. We've got someone sending their blessings to our group for all the old timers like you and Doug and Carol and Don, saying thanks for sticking with us all these years, which is nice. And yeah, I started with Dimensions back in 1998, June of 1998, and that's how long I've been in this industry, helping people with their technology. And there's not many of us left that understand how to do the serial connectivity and SuperDOS and SCO Unix and all those things, especially.
Well, one thing I always like to remind people is, I think Randy quoted me the number that the first Dimensions system went live 28 years ago, and so it's been an extraordinary run of this software application. And interestingly enough, the guy whose claim to fame is he is the first Dimensions go live just converted over to a new system last month. So that's kind of a milestone if you care to think of it as one, but it has been a long run, and the system certainly has paid for itself and doesn't owe us anything at this point, and I think it's time to retire it gracefully and move into some new technology. And there's some really, really good stuff going on out there that you maybe didn't even realize your business could use. Better document management, better online ordering with vendors, better communication with your customers. All that stuff just comes as a byproduct of the state of the new technology these days. So it's not a big challenge, and this will be a good move for those people who've moved forward. We just did a Dimensions to SuperDOS or to Spruce conversion out in California, and Richard out there said he absolutely loves it. He's so happy he made the move, and I think probably wishes he'd have done it a little bit earlier. So it's definitely a positive impact on the business, even though initially I'm sure that letter seemed like a little bit of a downer. At the end of the day, this is a really good thing. So.
Yeah, I got some other questions here. There's one here about dual storage on-site and cloud, and we will do a cloud webinar. Everybody wonders what this whole cloud cloud thing is, and cloud is a big thing, just like clouds. There's a lot of sky out there, and there's a lot of things to talk about. But to answer your question briefly, our solution is a local and off-site storage. So we will put a little what they call NAS device in your business. It's a little computer with a couple of hard drives in it that stores local storage, and then it also shoots off to the cloud every night, so that if you have a local failure, like you lose a spreadsheet or you lose an email file or something, then we can restore it immediately off a local file. Or heaven forbid, should your building burn down or flood or something, then we can always restore from the cloud. So we have a very comprehensive and robust cloud disaster recovery solution. And then again, this is the kind of stuff we can talk about with you. With new technology and the kind of things we can help you with, because that's first and foremost what Applied Integration specializes here with the geniuses we have sitting in our Knox Center. These guys are all about Microsoft and new technology and a lot of really good things that can help make your life easier and better protected and more efficient. Also, it's looking like, this isn't a surprise to anybody. I'm getting some responses here on questions saying, 23 months is more than fair warning. A lot of you have probably already gotten knocked on your door by Spruce or by, Epicor or by Progressive Solutions or whatever companies, have been out there, Advantage, those guys that are out there courting the building materials industry. So, it's looking like this isn't a big surprise.
Perhaps we could
someone's asking, go ahead, Don.
I was just wondering if maybe we could do, just as we talk about that cloud webinar, maybe we could have everyone raise their hands who'd be up for a cloud webinar in, say, a week's time. Is that let's just say, how many of you would be interested in, maybe we shoot for next Tuesday, we do another webinar, well, let's see, next Tuesday I think it'd be okay, to do another one to go over that cloud stuff. Is that, everybody who thinks that's an okay time, how about you raise your hand? Let's take a couple minutes, and then Charlie, drop everybody's hands, and anybody who thinks that's too soon or not soon enough or whatever, then let's just kind of take that quick poll again, because I think that's one that we should jump right on, and I'm prepared to do it as soon as you guys are ready, but I don't want to shove a bunch of stuff down your throat if you feel like you're trying to drink out of a fire hose right now. So.
It's pretty unanimous that everybody wants to try to do, a week out. There's a few of you that maybe can't make it, or maybe you're gone or something, but we could probably do our first one a week out. And again, if you can't make a webinar, don't sweat it. We'll be happy to talk to all of you one-on-one. I'll talk all day, every day about technology with you. So I think, Don, that would be good. Let's just set up a webinar for a week out.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and target for that then, and we'll send out the invites, and we'll do the same thing. We'll record the thing for those of you who want to catch up but maybe don't have time to be there. We'll try not to be a nuisance to you.
Another question about Spruce, asking about where their website is, and I'm just verifying that I have it correctly really quick for you guys. It's www.sprucecomputer.com if you want to go out to their website and take a look, at their solution. And you can, I'm sure you can contact a sales rep from there if you want to. But you're also welcome to contact me. I've got a good relationship with all the Spruce guys and the Spruce reps, and pretty much everybody in the building materials industry. I mean, this isn't our first rodeo through this stuff. I've been selling these software systems for years. It worked for PSI and worked for the Eagle side and worked for the Dimension side and the Falcon side, if you guys remember that. So I can really kind of at least give you some advice to help you make the best decision for your business. So people, yeah, pretty much just wanting updated proposals, which we definitely will give you. And everybody's saying thanks for the webinar. Somebody said something about payroll on Spruce. All the new computer systems do have payroll options. Some of them export to ADP. Some of them have their own payroll system. So I wouldn't sweat that. I mean, it's when it comes to things like general ledger, payroll, the W-2s, all those kind of things, every modern computer system has a solution now. And in a lot of cases, it's much better than the old, than the old solution that was out there with Dimensions, because it was very limited. Things like direct deposit and that kind of stuff just weren't supported. So that kind of stuff is all available. And those are the kind of things that we can weed out if you have specific questions about a computer system. And I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any questions here. Again, if you do want further information from myself or from Don, just let me know. Somebody did say we just last week had a statewide internet outage for several hours. What happens then with the cloud hosting? Well, we deal with that stuff as it comes. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what we typically do, we realize that when that's the one kind of Achilles heel of the cloud is you are dependent on an internet connection. But again, because of the relentless pace of technology change now, it's fairly trivial to put a dedicated internet connection in and then have kind of a failover connection. We do that for one of our large customers now, where they've got one of the circuits coming into the businesses based on one type of architecture. It happens to be called MPLS. And then we have a backup internet connection that's a DSL line. And the equipment is sophisticated enough to know that, hey, the main connection is down, so I'll turn around and route across the backup connection. And in those instances, that can either be over a fixed landline, or it can even be done over the cellular network these days, which really is kind of like you're completely separated that way. If the if the physical infrastructure of the phone company happens to be down because somebody cut through a major fiber segment somewhere, that doesn't necessarily mean that the cell towers are affected, because they're on a completely separate network. And so the equipment just knows that it's supposed to fail over to the other one. Now, typically you'll see some service degradation during that period of time. Obviously, may not be as fast, but you can still keep running and things are up and running. So all those kinds of things are the kinds of things that it's pretty easy to answer those questions these days, because of the way the technology has evolved and developed and become more mature. Where in the old days, there was kind of like, well, this is all there is, and this is the risks that are associated with it. It's pretty easy now to kind of reduce those risks as much as possible.
Thanks, Don. Got a question here saying that it was a great overview today, and asking if we've converted multi-store operations to Spruce. Absolutely, we can run multi-store in the cloud, or depending on the size of your organization, like Don said, it might make sense to go your own server route. So we look at those on a one-to-one basis, but that's really where the cloud shines, is in multi-store applications, because your remote stores don't really know or care where the server is, and then you don't have a single point of failure out there. So there's a lot of options, a lot of things to talk about, and Spruce, just like any of the other systems out there, really are scalable now today for as many locations as you want to go. And it, extremely flexible, modern database, all the buzzwords. I see someone's mentioning it. Next Tuesday is going to be a busy day, because a lot of places are closed on Monday. So maybe we could push our webinar out another day. We'll look at the calendar and make sure we do that.
Yeah, we'll look at the calendar and see. We'll throw you a date out there. I guess I just kind of wanted to mostly see if everybody was game for another one fairly soon, and so we'll jump on the bandwagon and start to throw some dates out there and see if we can't get something scheduled right away.
I got someone here raising their hand, say SuperDOS was awesome. Yeah, it was.
It absolutely was.
Keyword there being was. SuperDOS was awesome. It sure was.
I remember when we couldn't put SuperDOS systems in fast enough, because the only competition at that point was a computer as big as a Volkswagen. So, yeah, it was great, and we all owe it all a lot of our success is because of those operating systems and that software application. You know, it was at the time you guys made the move to Dimensions, I don't think anybody could not argue that that was the best option there was available for your business. It was a very positive thing you did moving on to the Dimensions platform, and you did it because you knew it was going to be good for your business. I'm convinced this next change is going to be just like that. I don't think anyone's going to regret moving off Dimensions onto some new software, because you're going to find it does the same thing. It's going to ramp your business back up, going to make your people more efficient, and you're going to feel the same way 10 years down the road about this.
Yeah, and someone's asking here, we use Dimensions for all of our applications. Does Spruce offer all of the platform that Dimensions has? And the answer with there is absolutely. You know, most of those systems out there do. I mean, even Eagle, and I'm not too sure about Advantage. That's the one I don't know the most about. But these new systems are just so robust. And what you'll see when you just take a look at them is the full integration of the, you know, they don't have a document management system anymore. These systems, it's all integrated. It's all designed from the ground up to be a paperless system that becomes, you know, that is efficient as possible with the movement of information. So you just got to take a look with open eyes and understand that, you know, not only do they have exactly what Dimensions has, but and then some. And so, you know, I know a lot of you, even if you did go out and bought all of the old bolt-on applications like the delivery dispatch, like the document management, like all the things that were offered in the day. Even if you have all of that, the new systems have all of that and then some. So someone's asking if Dimensions is still around. I'm not sure how to answer that other than you saw in Don's PowerPoint. There's just not many left. I mean, it's really funny when people say to me, you know, I love Dimensions. I don't ever want to let go of it. But we know for a fact that there's less than 100 companies running Dimensions worldwide. I mean, that's when you compare that to, like, you know, Windows or Microsoft or any other system out there, less than 100 is nothing in the big scheme of things. And that's the reason we see hardware vendors just don't see it as a big, you know, big deal, and you know, software vendors and operating system vendors, and that's why it's kind of gone the way of the dinosaur. And you know, we've really tried hard to hang on for dear life here, but at the end of the day, it's just sometimes time to change.
I think probably a lot of you will have to agree as well that, you know, your workforce is a lot of times becoming a younger and younger workforce, and they kind of walk into your business with an assumption that they have a certain level of technology that they can interact with to get their job done. They understand instant messaging, and they live on email and text messaging and the web and so forth. And for them to, you know, for the new workforce to come in and look at a business that's running on Dimensions these days, it's pretty much culture shock to them, and they just don't understand how a business can function without being, you know, fully modernized. And so I think that's also one of those things that you find out there is, as the business owner, you've been in your business for a long time, you're very comfortable with how things work. But if you look around at your workforce, the people that are coming into the lumberyard or into the business to work for the summer or whatever, they're just lost when they see an old character-based application that won't communicate to anything, and they don't have access to email and the web. It's just an assumed part of doing business for them, and so you almost kind of throttling them back. You're killing their enthusiasm for the job they're going to do, because you're putting this ancient technology in front of them and going, well, here, make the best of this, you know. So again, it's really a positive thing to move forward and modernize this stuff, and people always seem to embrace it once they realize that they don't have to jump through hoops again, and in order to get a deposit on an order, there's not 27 steps that have to be followed in exactly the right order. You know, that systems are flexible now and integrated. Like Charlie said, the document management these days is as simple as, you know, dragging an email attachment and dropping it onto the application, and it's just there. It's just an integrated part of what's going on with the system. It's not some separate standalone system that you have to kind of, that's been jury-rigged. It's just built in there, and it's just an assumed part of how you do your day, because that really is how you do your day these days. You don't want to have to, you know, jump through hoops. You just want to get your work
done. So a couple more questions. Are we going to continue to support DocMan? Don, we didn't specify the third-party softwares, I don't think, in our letter, but you want to answer that?
Yeah, we'll keep those machines running. The DocMan servers are typically run on a Windows box, and about all we can do with those, again, is just keep Windows healthy. so if you're looking back at that old information for some period of time, it's not too tough to keep that Windows system sitting there running, but you're obviously just going to be, at some point in time, you're just kind of cutting off of putting anything new into there, and it's just a historical, reference site. So in that instance of keeping that box running, that's not too difficult to do. Again, I always hate to say, well, yeah, I'll keep a DocManage system running forever, but it is where they are based on a Windows server. It's not too difficult to keep that running and just keep it there. But again, we are assuming as you transition out, it's just the old file cabinets that you're going to go back to.
And those of you who have emailed me or texted me, I've got your names written down. I will get with you one-on-one for quotes, or to discuss further, because I see a couple things, a couple people saying, hey, just get a hold of me or get a hold of one of my people. Other than that, I think we're about wrapped up on questions, unless anybody else has any others. And again, I apologize if I missed anything. Feel free to email Don or myself, and we'll be happy to talk to you guys one-on-one, or just call in here. Sue answers every call, and she'll get you to one of us, and we'll go with you, one-on-one. And then, like Don said, there is a lot of work to do. I know it's still 2 years out, but if everybody waits until December of 14, you're going to be in trouble. So this is something to at least get on the radar screen. Start looking now. Get a budget. Get a plan in place, and we're here to help you do that. And I do want to emphasize that we just know what we're doing. Spruce is a good partner of ours, but whatever you do, do something. And we're here to, we'll talk about technology for free all day long to help you make the right decision for your business. But Spruce just happens to be the one that we've seen that's the least amount of pain and transition, and a great cost and easy to move from. So, but if you want any other advice, or you want to know what other systems are out there, I'll be happy to tell you guys and steer you what direction and tell you what I know about them. Because, like I said, I've sold half of the ones that are out there. I've sold over the last 12, 13, 14 years. So with that, I guess we'll kind of wrap things up unless there's any more questions coming in here. Let me just double check and see. Doesn't look like it. So we really appreciate you taking the time out today. And we know this isn't a super fun subject, but we do think it's fun. And we'll just kind of wrap things up. You can just click out of your browser there when you finished and close out the webinar. And if anybody does want to copy this or want access to it, I'll send out a link to where you can get the recorded version of the webinar after this session. So.
And then we'll get the cloud webinar scheduled as soon as possible. We'll jump off this call and look at our calendars and kind of see what we can lay out there. And we'll just keep moving down forward. Like Charlie said, though, we do have a fair amount of interest in getting, some activity to happen out there right away, so that we can keep the calendar full but not over full. We know everyone's going to have your busy times in the summer where you don't want to do anything, and so really that window of the time for those of you who want to make the move, we really should start discussing this as soon as possible, even if you know that you want to set your bullseye date out there a ways. At least if we can all start to have the conversation together, we can start to plan our own resources and so forth around, what the expected demand is. Because obviously we can't do y'all in the same quarter. If 15 people call me and say we want to convert next month, well, we can't do 15 in a month. So, we've got to be realistic about that. But the sooner we can start at least talking about kind of getting some bullseye dates out on the calendar, I think we'll all be the most successful at this process, and everybody will be, in good shape at the end of the day. So I again just want to thank you for all taking time out of your day. We'll stop talking and let you get back to work now.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks.